Thanks for joining us on your Kentuckiana home today. We are in another beautiful home in Old Louisville with the owners, and this is Susan and Linda, and you guys have purchased this beautiful home close to St. James Court, and it has a very special history. Susan, tell us what the ties are to the exposition, the Southern Exposition.
Well, the Southern Exposition was dismantled in 1887, and a man named William Slaughter purchased the land and decided to build Louisville's first suburb and call it Old Louisville. So he plotted off the lots and sold them to the owners who built the mansions. And then he donated the green space that runs through St. James Court. He named St. James Court and Belgravia Court. So then he built this house for himself. He lived in it for a couple of years while all this construction was going on. 14 years ago, I was driving down the street one day, and I stopped in front of this house that was just calling out to someone. It was in such bad shape. It was really falling down and Barney purple and everything else. So I bought it and did a complete and total restoration over 14 years. And my sister and I grew up in Louisville, and my entire family still lives here. We love Old Louisville because it's the history, it just drips with history. These houses have a life of their own. And so we don't really own the houses, we are caretakers and we just pass them along.
Have you always been interested in history and older homes?
Yes, I have, and I'd never lived in an older home before, but I've collected just things from flea markets and the antique stores all these years, and Linda and I, we shop together, and now we have a place that it fits.
And you have lots of fun items displayed throughout the house that you've collected over the years. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite?
One of my favorites is this collection that Linda has of the silhouettes behind us. We have old rustic items from the kitchen. We did not want a regular normal kitchen. We wanted something very rustic. We wanted a house that when you walk into the front door, you feel like you're at the turn of the 19th century.
Is the flooring original?
The flooring is original, the chandeliers, the hand-carved mantels, there are 3 of them, and 2 cast iron fireplaces upstairs. So we kept all of the original elements, and luckily no one had painted the staircase or the mantels, so we were very fortunate in that. And I've done all of the work myself as far as hands and knees, refinishing floors, and all except the furnace and electric and things like that. So, but it's been a labor of love, it really has.
How long did it take for you to restore it?
13 years.
And so now it's gorgeous again after all your hard work and love that you put into this house,
Yes.
And you've decided to open it up to the public.
Yes, we wanted to be on this year's holiday home tour because of the connection that William Slaughter, if it hadn't been for him, there would be no St. James Court. And then, of course, Thomas Edison, you know, I wake up every morning and I think, Thomas Edison stood on this ground. And he and his men hand-strung the 5,000 light bulbs. And opening night at the exposition, they were turned on, and it's the first time the world saw the light bulb. So we have some of those Edison bulbs. We thought it would add some effect for this year's holiday home tour. And then we've been on Victorian ghost tours before. We've had the house open because it is haunted. We have several spirits. We've had ghost hunter teams and psychics over the years, and voices on the recorders, so it's a very active house.
More ways than one,
More
right?
ways than one, yes.
So I think it's very interesting with the history of this house that you guys are only the 8th family to live here.
That's right. We were able to get a hold of the deeds, all 8 of the deeds, showing William Slaughter as the first owner. He owned, it was called the Victoria Land Company. And then later on, after I moved in, I met David Dominy, who's the author of several ghost books, and people started telling him about the happenings in their house, and he wrote several books, and we've been published in some coffee table books, Feast for the Eyes cookbook, and Family Reunion. David met a lady that had grown up in the house, and so I was able to call her. This was about 8, 9 years ago, and I said, would you like to see the house? And she said, well, yes, I really, really would. I said, why don't you bring your family? You're all welcome. So I said, let's have a potluck. So one Sunday, she said, we'll bring everything. So they marched in. It was, I called her 2 days before that, and I said, how many will be coming? And she said, 28 so far. So we were thrilled. We were thrilled. This family came in. There's an elderly man that walked into the front door and burst into tears. He had never seen the house open because when he lived here, all the rooms, especially after the 2 world wars, you had to rent out every space that you had to boarders. And so most of the doors were closed all those years that they lived here.
So what rooms did they live in?
Well, the grandparents lived in this room. The parents lived in the back parlor. The kitchen was the kitchen and the TV room and the den. There were 38 people living in the house.
Wow.
At that time, teenage boys, they shared the rooms upstairs. They even lived in the basement. The basement's sort of finished, not very well, but anyway, they were just thrilled. They ran around the house, and it was just wonderful to have them. We really had some good times.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on the show today and opening your home to us. I've really enjoyed being here and meeting you and hearing your story.
Well, thank you. We've been delighted to host this. We really appreciate it because we want people to enjoy the houses.
Well, we do too. So we want them to come out to the Holiday Home Tour, which is next weekend, December 3rd and 4th. You can come out and meet Linda and Susan and see this gorgeous home that was one of the first homes built in the St. James neighborhood. We'll be back with more Your Kentuckiana Home in just a moment.